As you drive through the countryside in the fall and winter, you might see cattle grazing on corn stubble. To do this, farmers need to supply water and have a fencing system they can trust. Often the fence consists of temporary electric fence with smooth steel wire, metal fence posts with plastic insulators, and a fence charger powered by a 12-volt battery. Another type of temporary electric fence consists of one or more strands of poly twine or poly tape attached to insulated posts and a fence charger. These fences can be put up and taken down quickly. They are ideal for pasture management, breaking a large pasture into smaller areas so that cattle or horses use the whole area more efficiently and completely. Smooth steel wire should be at least 17 gauge. High tensile 12-gauge wire is more expensive but far more durable for long-term situations. Poly tape or poly twine consists of polyethylene or polypropylene strands interwoven with 3 to 9 strands of stainless steel or aluminum alloy. Aluminum alloy conducts electricity better than stainless steel. Check the product label to determine which type of wire is right for you. Poly tape is easier to see than poly twine, which makes it great for horses. However, it is bulkier, so a full spool of poly tape won't build as much fence as the same spool full of poly twine. A standard spool will hold about 600 feet of poly tape and over twice that of poly twine. In addition, poly tape costs more. An animal must see the wire to respect it. Visibility is very important, especially with poorly trained stock or where wildlife like deer may challenge a fence. Poly twine comes in several colors and color combinations: white, black and white, orange, orange and black, yellow, and yellow and black. Orange and yellow wires look great on the farm supply store shelf, but white is more visible to animals in the field. Use white, poly twine, or poly tape unless you have to deal with snow for part of the year. In that case, use black and white or colored materials. You'll need a spool with a steel crank for storing and installing poly twine or poly tape. If you roll either on a stick or around your arm, you'll have a big tangled mess. A spool will allow you to lay out or roll up 600 feet of poly tape or poly twine in less than 5 minutes. Metal T-posts are strong but are hard to install and remove. They also require insulators. An efficient option is fiberglass rods. If soil is moist, you can just push them in. Wear gloves when you work with fiberglass to avoid getting splinters. If the soil is hard and dry, you can tap a fiberglass rod in with a hammer. Place a steel cap over the end to protect the rod from splintering when you tap it in. You can get steel caps at a supply store that handles fencing materials, or use a fired shotgun shell. Attach the poly tape or poly twine to the rods using a wire clip or plastic insulator that slides on the rod. Many kinds of tread-in or step-in posts are available. They can be difficult to install in extremely dry soils and are more expensive than the fiberglass rods. Next, you need a fence charger to supply current to the fence. Consider the length of the fence, the type of wire, the animals you're fencing, the soil, and the power source. Look at the power rating in joules of the charger. 1 joule will power 3 to 6 miles of smooth steel wire, but far less of the poly tape or poly twine. No matter the size of the fence charger, we recommend that you use a low impedance charger that sends a pulse of electricity every second, but the pulse stays on the wire for only a millisecond. These short pulses reduce grounding by vegetation, reduce damage to the wire, and all but eliminate the risk of fire. If mainline power is available and dependable, use a fence charger that has a 110 or 220 volt plug-in. Mainline power is more dependable and will cost about $1.50 a month with an electrical rate of 12 cents per kilowatt hour. AC chargers have several other advantages over battery-powered DC chargers. They require no battery maintenance, usually have higher power ratings, and generally are placed in or close to buildings, reducing the risk of vandalism. Where mainline power is not available, battery-powered fence chargers are a practical alternative. Use 12-volt deep-cycle batteries for longer or permanent fences. They can be recharged repeatedly and hooked up to solar panels. Conventional car batteries can be used, but they are not designed to be totally discharged. They will only recharge up to about 60 to 75% of their original capacity. For small areas and temporary fences, you can use small fence chargers that are powered by 6 D-cell batteries. Typically, batteries must be replaced every month. Whatever your energy source, the grounding system is critical. Most problems with electric fences can be traced to poor grounding. For an animal to receive a shock, it must complete an electrical circuit. The circuit usually is from the charger, through a live wire, by a spark through the animal, through the soil all the way back to the ground rods, and to the charger to complete the circuit. Moist soil is a good conductor of electricity, but in dry conditions, such as during a drought or on sandy soils, animals may not be shocked by electric fences. A single steel rod or pipe pounded into the ground near the fence charger may be sufficient for a small temporary fence in moist conditions, while up to 4 copper-clad 6-foot ground rods and associated grounding wires may be needed for large fences and dry conditions. Use a digital voltmeter to test the fence at several locations away from the fence charger. Maintain at least 3,000 volts on the fence. If the reading is low, check that you have a good energy source, that the charger is attached to the fence properly, and that no grasses or branches are shorting the circuit. A temporary electric fence is a psychological barrier rather than a physical barrier. Animals will respect it when they have learned that the fence will shock them. Before installing the fence in a pasture, set it up in a small area, such as a paddock, to train the animals to respect the fence. When you turn stock into the training area, keep an eye on them. Stock are curious and will investigate the fence. When first shocked, some animals may back up while others may bolt ahead. When stock get out, just put them back in. If the training fence needs repair, tie a square knot so that the wires make good contact. If an animal continues to challenge the fence, you may not be able to put that animal in a pasture with a temporary electric fence. Once you've trained the animals, set up the fence in the pasture area and test it. Use the voltmeter periodically to ensure the fence is holding an adequate charge. I hope this program's given you some ideas for the materials that you'd need for temporary electric fencing. I'm Jan Hingstrom with the University of Nebraska-Lincoln Extension.